Rick and Patrick, this one's directed directly at you. What are some areas besides deferred revenue where sellers get surprised about the terms of the deal?
Patrick, why don't you take that first, and I'll follow up.
I can think of a couple. One, when it comes to client contracts. So for us, if you've got nice annual 1 year, 2 year, 3 year contracts, and you've got a proven history of renewal, they're written, they've got an evergreen auto renew process to them, the value of that is higher from a risk perspective. And I make a call out on the risk particularly because the way we generally work, we don't necessarily ding the valuation for a lack of contract, but what we end up doing is shifting the risk off to the seller sometimes. And the way we do that is some form of earnout. That means that contract has to keep coming back and renewing because I have nothing to hold them to it. So we tend to do some performance based. For every dollar I collect, you get this many cents of that dollar on those kind of contracts. So that's probably one of the things that surprises them. Rick, what else do we see?
So I just think that, earnouts have such a bad connotation out in the world. And they don't have to end badly. We've done over 100 deals, and there's only a handful that have not really gone well. And even then, it wasn't because the buyer didn't want to pay somebody. It's generally because the seller was sort of in their own world on what they thought was true and wasn't necessarily true. As long as everybody's shooting square and being straight up and being honest, there's a lot of trust building that goes on as well. But I think the surprises are, that it's not biggest surprise. You mean I don't just get a check? And that again, tends to be for more not people that haven't done it before. But generally speaking, there's going to be terms, usually some cash at closing, some form of seller note, maybe some form of earnout, and for a variety of reasons. And none of them are evil intention. No buyer's trying to do that to get over on somebody. In terms of just financials, akin to a deferred revenue thing, just about everything on the balance sheet. Most cash businesses or most businesses, they just don't pay attention to their balance sheet, and it doesn't tie out, and the accounting's not right. A lot of times we'll engage, and they just not expecting sort of the deep dive on the financials and all the sort of Q&A that goes along with understanding, your business. And some people are taken aback with it. I'm not going to share that with you, but I want this much money for my company. So that they're kind of surprised when, before we can do that, we need to get you to know you, and we need to understand your business and why the heck should we do this in the first place. And we have an axiom here at Coaching we call, opportunity first, money last. And focusing on the opportunity means you need to be transparent to the potential buyer. You're under a non-disclosure. They can't go take your clients. They're not going to go take your employees. It just doesn't happen. Even cases where that's kind of happened, people talk to each other. That's the whole point. So I think the big surprise is, you need to be transparent. I think that's a big surprise people just aren't prepared for.
Well, I think a lot of times they're not prepared to be transparent. They might not even have the data to answer the questions correctly.
Exactly. I think that's right. And oftentimes when we find out later, hey, it took a while to get the financial information in. They just weren't ready. Their numbers weren't right. My accountant's not closed my books yet. I have one guy right now, he does his books quarterly. Interesting. It's actually a pretty good company, and we're okay with that, but it's, you should close your books monthly. Some people, their accountant shows up, once every 2 months and kind of cleans up the books. That's what Rex was talking about. You got to be ready, like every day, like you're going to sell the company today, even if you're not going to do it for 2 years.
I think the other thing, sort of leaving the financial, the other thing that people are surprised by is staff. What are you going to keep all my staff, or are you not going to keep all my staff? Rarely do we do a deal where we get to keep 100% of the staff. Technical and service delivery, almost always. But back office stuff, accounting, HR, administrative, that's one way a buyer's looking for some synergy. And so that I've been met with that a couple of times, like, oh, this person's been with me for 20 years, and I can't, and that's fine. And that, I understand that loyalty, but those kind of things bring deals to a halt sometimes. And kind of likewise, if you're an owner of the business and you've sort of marketed your business as, here's how much money we make with my salary added back, And then you come back around, but I do want to work for the business. Yeah, well, the valuation's based on you not working there. You can't. So that's also a surprise. And I was like, oh, you know, the investment banker or whoever I'm using to market the business said to put my salary back in there, but I really want a job. I've had deals blow up just for that reason as well.